when people do not have access to food, personally acceptable food, through normal food channels, we have a situation of food insecurity. There's no, I think, stronger statement to say that this is just not the same if I prepare it in my kitchen because I choose to, and because it's even a once in a while sort of treat for my 3-year-old, as compared to somebody who's obliged to eat this, and very often obliged to prepare it without milk. No, it's not the same. Yeah. It was an icebreaker, a way to get a serious conversation started about a really serious public health issue. We want to imagine a world where, in Canada at least, there are no food charity programs because they're not needed. And to think about solving the problem of food insecurity, which is a terrible social problem, but also a really serious public health problem, a really serious population health problem. We need to look at income insecurity. We need to ask ourselves and examine, why is it that somebody who is living on social assistance check, somebody who's in the labor force, why can't they make it to the end of the month, no matter how you budget? And what can we as a society do to change that? Most of us in food secure contexts don't give any thought to milk. We just assume it's going to be there. It's like it's a complete package and then you just add milk. But for those who live in food insecure contexts, just adding milk is absolutely not possible. It's not part of their reality. Milk is a very precious commodity. It's expensive, it's difficult to transport, it's difficult to store. And so the reality is that many people are making Kraft Dinner at the end of the month with water. They don't have any milk left, they don't have butter or margarine necessarily, and that alone makes it taste completely different. Kraft Dinner is something that is fundamentally about monotony, you know, eating it all the time, day after day, having to eat it because you really have not a lot of choice, or very, very little choice, right? Also that it's, as sold, it's not palatable, it's missing milk, and many people just don't have that, especially at the end of the month when Kraft Dinner, a box of Kraft Dinner would quite often be put aside specifically to get through those last difficult days at the end of the month. And I think actually a lot of food secure people, when we think about eating Kraft Dinner, and we don't do it all that often, many of us would be doing what I'm doing here. That is to say, we think about Kraft Dinner as a complete meal, but in fact we're adding quite a bit. And it's not the only thing that we will have eaten that day, and certainly not in the past 3 or 4 days. So the position of being able to find a way to say, oh, here's an opportunity to integrate some zucchini and cucumber that my 3-year-old probably won't be able to detect. Or here's, okay, we have some broccoli, we can put that on the side of the plate, then there's a broccoli with kind of a cheesy sauce. Right? Those are dimensions that we usually just think about Kraft Dinner as complete. The very best food bank system in the world isn't actually going to solve the problem of food insecurity, because you're waiting until people are in desperate need. And so that's just not a proactive way to solve the problem of food insecurity. This study is the beginnings of trying to make a more constructive dialogue between people who are living in real poverty in Canada, to the point that they cannot feed themselves or their family adequately, and they fear daily running out of money for food. We need to have a dialogue about why that is happening and what we can collectively do about it. So what I want, first and foremost, is for people to think about this study, to talk about it with their friends and family, and find ways to make a difference wherever you are.
I never thought I would be on the other end of getting a hamper. It was not in my plans. It was not something that I thought, and I've talked to a lot of people, and you find that they are one paycheck away in the same boat that we are. Like, one of the spouse gets injured, they could be in the same boat that Daryl and I ended up in, where one of us got injured and we needed help. So It's a terrible feeling. You're worried about your kids, making sure they had food. You know, we'd go places and we'd look for the bargains. Farmers market was a good place you could go because you could get produce fairly cheap at that time. The tough part was not knowing when the next meal, if we were going to have enough for the next meal. It's tough to make it do on what little we had. I mean, the time you pay your rent and utilities, you end up with hardly anything left. So then you're trying to make it stretch to buy your food. And it doesn't go very far. You know, you're trying to feed a family of 4 on about $50 a month. It doesn't go very far. When I was asking for food, I'd ask for specific things. You know, people would bring casseroles, which are great. I mean, those help big time. But they forget the little things that you need, the milk and the butter and your eggs, things that we take for granted when we do have money. I started going back to the basics, looking at if I bought a big can, can I make it stretch? Can I make something? Can I make a casserole and freeze half of it? Can I make a chili and add more beans to it and less meat, right? So you start looking at things that you can make stretch, make more than one meal if you bought bigger cans. I learned to be a creative cook when I got my hampers, breaking out the old cookbooks so I could make something out of the hampers. Not everybody has time to do that. Gotta admit, I think comfort food now, but 5 years ago, I'd look at the box and go, what the heck am I gonna do with this? Because most of the time I didn't have milk and I didn't have butter to make it with. And you can't make it with water, I'm sorry. It just doesn't taste right. It doesn't look good, it doesn't taste good, and the kids won't eat it. But we don't get a lot of milk in. We usually get your yogurt. Butter is hardly ever. Milk, we'll get it once in a while, not very often. Cheese, no way. You don't see cheese and don't eat it. Once Daryl and I got back on our feet, financially and health-wise, I started volunteering at the community kitchens, building their hampers, taking food apart, the boxes, and also making the good food box. I wanted to give back. I thought I could help other people, and I find that I did. You know, to deliver a hamper or give a hamper to somebody and know what was going in that hamper, to know that they could use it. It made me feel good. I mean, it did. Now that I'm working and I've met so many single moms and see them struggling on $1,000, it just doesn't cut it anymore, or minimum wage. They just can't make it. And I don't judge anybody anymore, you know, because I've been there and a lot of people do judge people. So, yeah.
Okay, so if you
Ice cube tray, frozen packets of gravies.
were, okay. Now we'll get a bit
No, it's not over there.